you. Right, morning everybody. Let's just kick straight into it. Thank you for joining this CrashMap Pro user group. So anybody that's joined one of these before knows that we run these more like a meeting. So it's more about a chat with everybody and between everybody. So please feel free to turn your cameras on. Feel free to speak up, ask any questions throughout. It is much more of a discussion about how everybody uses CrashMap, learning from each other. And then the big thing that I'm sure everybody's aware of is that we're going to be talking about CrashMap 2.0 today. So that's going to be quite a big part of this session. But because there's not a huge number of us, it's really good for us to go through some introductions. So we'll start on our side first. And it'd be great to hear from everybody else as well, just to hear you know, who you are, where you're from, and then we'll talk a little bit later about how everybody is using CrashMap Pro. So just stop showing for a second. That makes that a lot better. So hello, I'm Steve. I'm the marketing manager at Agilysis. So usually anybody that hears anything, any communications about CrashMap Pro, that usually comes from me. So that's who I am. Let me go just down I'm going to go down my list here. So Emerson, if you go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emerson, and I'm a geospatial engineer at Agilysis. Most of my work is around building these tools and looking after the data behind them.
Cool. Thank you. Jordan.
Morning, everyone. So I'm Jordan. I'm the client strategy manager for Agilysis. My role is to work with public and private sector organisations, trying to help them get the most out of our tools. So really excited to hear about how CrashMap Pro is working for your teams and how you're using it.
Meg.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Meg. I'm Sales and Marketing Assistant. Happy to help you through our support email and for any inquiry that you have.
Meg. Richard.
Hi there, Richard Owen, CEO of Agilysis and actually the creator of the original CrashMap back in 2011. Wow, how time flies.
Thanks, Richard. Tom.
So I'm Tom Fosdick. I am head of technology at Agilysis. So my responsibility is for the platform on which our products are based and the wider remit of technology in general.
Well, thanks, Tom. I see we've got a couple of other people from the team as well pop up. So let's start off with them. Johnny.
Yeah, good morning all. Johnny Oliver, technical consultant at Agilysis. So I'll be assisting with supporting the CrashMap application.
Thanks, Johnny. And Rob.
Yeah, I'm one of the principals here. I'm interested in finding out a little bit more. I used CrashMap when I was a serving police officer, and I'm interested to see or to know a little bit more about it and how it might fit within an operational policing environment. So more for cops perhaps than road safety partnership. So that's kind of my interest today.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, important worth saying that we use CrashMap ourselves. It's not just something that we provide to other people. We use it as part of our work. Alan.
I'm Alan Ferris from Swansea Council. I'm a user of CrashMap, and it informs some of our decision-making processes in terms of assessment of collisions and patterns of collisions in the work that we do.
Great, thanks, Alan. It's not often I'd meet another Ferris, so it's good to see you.
There's not many of us.
Alice.
Hi, sorry, I was trying to get my mic to work. Hi, Alice Howes, Highgate Transportation. We're based down in Bristol, private consultancy, using CrashMap within our reports, transport assessments, statements, etc., to provide the background information for the planning applications that we're supporting.
Great, thanks, Alice. Fatin.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Faton Abdul Bandora. I'm a road safety engineer, road safety and traffic engineer in Slough Borough Council. I'm using CrashMap since the last 2 years, since I joined Slough. And it's been very useful to create reports, updating, like supporting our decisions for junction improvements, road improvements overall. Also, I send these reports as well as per requests from our developers whenever they want this data to assess, the impact of their like developments or other businesses. Recently, I use it also frequently for our road safety strategy as well. So yeah, like too many useful uses. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Fatin. Heather.
Hello there, Heather Young. As you can hear, my voice is going, so apologies. Senior engineer at West Berkshire Council, so I use CrashMap seldomly to kind of just get a better idea of what's happened and why, just to in conversation with communities and customers, and just get a better idea of what's happened. But I don't use it too often, and every time I go to use it, I kind of forget what I'm doing. So I try to go to these meetings to kind of keep my hand in and keep it fresh in my mind, kind of thing.
Oh, that's great, thank you. That's exactly why we run these the way that we do, so that everybody can learn from each other rather than just hearing from us about it. Sorry that you're not very well, and feel free to speak up whenever you want, but also if you want to put something into the chat, perfectly understand.
Cool, thank you.
And lastly, Neil.
Hello there. I'm a traffic engineer for Swansea Council. I work under Alan. Alan's the road safety manager, and we work closely together to develop the projects based on decision making based on the data that CrashMap provides us. So we develop schemes under Welsh Government funding.
Great stuff. Thanks, Neil. And I see we just had somebody else join. We're just going through introductions. Andrew, if you're able, do you want to just tell us who you are, where you come from?
Hello, Andrew Beard from Waterman.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andrew. Perfect timing as well. So right, we're just going to move on now. I do want to. Some people have discussed it briefly already. Just hearing how people use CrashMap Pro in sort of the day-to-day. So perhaps it might be easier. Let's just kick us off with a poll to see how often people are using CrashMap. We'll follow up on this in just a second. But there should be a poll that's just chat to find out how often people use CrashMap, and then it would be great to hear perhaps a bit more detail, perhaps a bit more technical, perhaps a bit over my head, how people use CrashMap, the features, and how sort of it impacts the daily work. So Fatin, if just come back to you, because you gave such a thorough sort of introduction, and I know that a couple of people were nodding on the call as well that they may have had some involvement with it, feeding into the road safety strategy, looking at junction improvements. How does CrashMap do that for you in your day-to-day?
Yeah, actually, like we have like a number of usually we receive a lot of complaints from residents. This is like most of like how these things start. So after we receive this, the first thing that I will do, I'll check the crash history, like for the last 3 years or the last 5 years, just to understand the trends, if there is like some like frequent like sort of collisions that's happening there. Sometimes it helped me like to reply to the residents to tell them that like this is the collision records. Sometimes it helps us to justify why we don't need to do the improvements or why we need to do the improvements. So it's really like direct us a lot, to what we need to do in specific like scenarios or specific locations. So this is something like road safety is evidence-based or data-led, like sort of work and like decisions. So it's we use it as like number one like check for like to proceed with projects and schemes. So yeah.
Right, fantastic. So on the other side of that, Alice and perhaps Andrew, you might have some more on this as well. Alice, you were saying that you use it as part of planning applications. Presumably that's into local authorities as well. Or was it different? I actually don't understand. But how does CrashMap impact sort of your day to day?
So essentially, when we have a developer come forward with the site and we are there to support them with a planning application, in our reports we'll set out like the background of the site, including looking at the collision history for the most recent 5 years, and we will set out what those, if there have been any collisions, what they are, whether they're slight, serious or fatal, and then use the website, including the information about potentially what happened, which direction the vehicles were coming through, etc., and then provide a summary in the anticipation that we hopefully set out that the area there is not a history of collisions, and then we include the report in our appendices so that the council can review that.
Okay, great. Understood. I do understand that now. Thank you. Presumably, and this is actually one of the things that we have on the agenda for later on, which is talking about other data. So we have an ambition for is to sort of combine more of a data ecosystem and the other kinds of data that people would be interested in. So we will have that as a proper topic. So it'd be great to hear from you on that one. Andrew Waterman, is it a similar sort of situation with you?
Yeah, so very similar to Alice. We use it for informing transport assessments to support planning applications. We also use the data for road safety audits and other sort of safety analysis that we do.
Got it. Okay, and presumably the other data question is something that you'd be keen to give input on later in the conversation.
Well, yeah, we'll see how the conversation goes. Yeah.
Okay, of course.
If I've got anything to add,
fantastic.
I'll add it.
Okay. And Neil and Alan, so I know that you're a bit of a special case because you have a local version of CrashMap Pro, so you already include some of your own localized data in it rather than sort of the national data. It's how does that affect your work?
We find it a very useful tool in assessing. I use it a lot in dealing with correspondence that we get into the council, establishing what base case, so what baseline collision statistics are there, and whether there's any patterns, what the patterns have changed like over the years, whether works we have undertaken have made a difference, what that difference is, but also to establish the problem sites within the area and developing solutions. So we use the full gamut of information that's available to us in doing that, including the Stats 19 feedback from the police on causation factors. So it's a very useful tool for us. Okay,
fantastic. Heather, I won't force you to speak. Is there anything that you'd like to add from West Berks' perspective?
No, not particularly. Again, I use it for much the same thing, to be honest. So.
Okay, right, lovely stuff. Thank you. Okay, so let me just I'll pop up the agenda so that everybody can see what we're planning for the rest of the next 45 minutes or so. Great. Okay, that should be there. So the well, we've just talked about sort of about the usage of it. I'll give you some of the data that we have as well. So just looking at those responses from the polls, looks like people are using it mostly weekly or monthly. I assume that I haven't used it yet are one of our team. Rob, okay, great, okay, no, not a problem. So, and somebody using it daily as well, which is absolutely incredible. So we do speak about CrashMap Pro. We obviously also have CrashMap, not Pro. I'm just plain CrashMap with no Pro on the end, which is the credit-based version. That is, we have about 10,000 or so, several thousand certainly, users on that one, and then a few people who are using the Pro version, which just gives the enhanced features. We are going to be looking at the what we're calling the technical roadmap. So this is what our ambition is for the current development process, and then also having a look at CrashMap 2.0, which everybody does currently have access to the beta version through your standard login. So you can actually feel free to have a login and a play around with that one already. But looking at sorry, dual screens. So in terms of the usage, this is the data that we have in terms of the logins, and so we've pulled through the top 10 Pro users here. Great to see you joining the call as well. Swansea in particular, getting lots of usage. I assume you. 354 logins in a year. I assume that one of you were the people that responded as daily logging in, which is excellent to see. West Berkshire, Slough, Waterman Group, and I'm so sorry, Alice. I've forgotten which one you said that you were from.
Highgate Transportation.
Highgate, sorry. Okay,
Number 4.
Number 4. I knew it was high up on. I couldn't remember if it was mode or not. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, so it's great to see that you're here. You're obviously very keen users of the tool. So your input is going to shape what it looks like in the future. So having a look at the roadmap towards the future, this is what our ambition is. So we're currently in the consultation period. So welcome to the consultation period. So that's why we've planned the user group at this point as well, where we're looking, in particular, encouraging as much feedback from users as possible as to the kinds of things that you would like to see, the kinds of improvements that you would like us to make to the tool. The second stage of that is looking at the other data that is available. Now, we do have a data warehouse full of stuff. So I think one or two of you certainly will know of our other tools that we have available, in particular speed compliance tool, which includes vehicle speed data. But we do have access to lots of other things as well. We'll cover that in a second. And would really like to know what would be useful to include in the tool moving forward to create that sort of map-based ecosystem. Following on from that is looking at the report builder. We're calling it the report builder. So currently the CrashMap reports are generated off it's sort of a paired system. We're looking at making improvements to that. So rejigging how the reports come out, making it a bit easier, looking at things like multi-reporting, things like that. So really would encourage any feedback on what you would like to see from the reports moving forward. And then Q1 of next year is the full launch. So hopefully have everything polished up and ready to go. As I said, the beta is already available. So a little bit of background on this. Let me just stop sharing for a second. A little bit of background on this is the current platform that CrashMap is built on is being deprecated by Esri. So the technology is no longer going to be supported, which makes things difficult for us to maintain. So we're looking to move it to a new technology platform. It's going to be the same. It's going to be in Esri. This is all behind the scenes. This does not change how the tool works, how you access it, anything like that. It's given us the opportunity, now that we have this other technology to build it on, to make these improvements, and that's why we're looking at CrashMap 2.0. So I think perhaps at this point, Emerson, can I hand over to you? So let's actually take a look at what we've got in CrashMap 2, if anybody hasn't played around with it, and then we can have a sort of a discussion about features and any feedback about the tool, and then we'll talk about the data side of things.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Hopefully you can all see this okay. Perfect. So yeah, as Steve said, this is our beta version. It's been available for around 2 months now, and we're looking to leverage on Esri's Experience Builder technology. So this is a clean interface. Of course, we've got the map in the middle of the screen, and we've got our crashes data that is currently styled, as you can see in the legend, by fatal, serious, or flight. And then on the left of the screen, we've got a few widgets. So the first of all is the number of crashes by the year. So this is from 2015 through to 2024. And this is, at the minute, is only filtered to full national data set. So you can hover over each of these widgets and see a total count. In addition to that, we also have the crash severity. So this is broken down into slight, serious, or fatal. And you can hover over those icons themselves to see the total number. In terms of the data itself, we've got the crashes, the vehicles, and the casualties. So first of all, the crashes themselves, that's what you see styled on the map, and you can actually interrogate the attribute data at the bottom of the screen by scrolling across. If you're interested in the vehicles that are linked to those crashes, we also have that separate data linked, and that's done by the accident ID field. And then finally, we also have the casualty data itself, and that also links back to the vehicles and the crashes. To the right of the screen, as I said before, we have the map legend. We also have an area to filter the data. So we have some standard filters where you could perhaps filter by the severity or the date. You might be interested in a particular highway authority or a different road type, or perhaps the weather conditions, the road surface conditions, the light, or the speed limit. And then there's also some very specific filters. So if you were interested in to interrogate the data where there was pedestrian casualties or cyclists or motorcycle casualties or child casualties, you could toggle those filters directly on. And then in conjunction with that, you could also expand the road users involved. So for example, you could test whether there's a car, it was a goods vehicle, motorcycle, cyclist, bus, young driver, etc. In addition to that, we have the feature information, which is listed at the side here. And I'll get more onto the actual individual selection of data in a moment, but I just wanted to point out that this is here. So if you did want to interrogate a particular record, you can see all the attributes listed there neatly and tidily. In terms of at the top of the screen, there is the layers themselves. So that is displayed here. And then we have the legend, which is an alternative way of seeing it from the side of the screen. And then in addition to that, there is another base map toggle as well, which you can use. So perhaps you might be interested in the imagery. You can toggle that on. Or if you want a hybrid, you could toggle that. Just switch it back to the GB background. And yeah, so after that, you can also do an address search. So perhaps you might be interested in a particular location or your current location. You can zoom directly to that place, and then it will show you where it is on the map and the crashes in that area. And then you could use that as your filtering basis. In addition to that, we also have our data warehouse, which I'll get onto more towards the end. But this is an area that you can click to add data, and then you can actually search for different things. So perhaps it's an additional product that we've provided you with access to, or it could be a URL, or it could be an individual file itself. I'd be really interested to hear how you're using this towards the end of the call. So yeah, so separate to that, if you wanted to select individual records themselves, at the top of the screen here, there is an option to use the selection tool. So I quite like to use the lasso tool. And if we just zoom in on, let's say, Stratford-upon-Avon, and we zoom into a road area, you can actually use this to highlight a subsection of crash records. Double click to come off of it. And that will then highlight all of those different records. So we can then interrogate those further. So you'll see at the bottom of the screen, it will highlight all of those particular records that we have selected. So we've got 17 crashes. We've got 29 vehicles that were involved in those crashes. And then the casualties, there were 21. And you'll also see on the left of the screen, the actual widgets are dynamic. So they change to only show that filtered data by the year. So for example, in 2015, there were 2, through to 2024, we've got a count of 1. And then also the severity, we've got 12 that were slight and 5 that were serious. If we wanted to dig into that data a little bit further, we can use the filtering system on the right of the screen, as I explained before. So if we just scroll back up to the top, you might only be interested in a section of records that had a severity of slight, for example. So you could click slight and then add the filter on. So this will then only return the slight records as selected on the screen. You could also change the date if you wanted to. So perhaps you're only interested in collisions that were in 2023. You could change that for the 1st of January to the 31st of December for that year. If you were working at a higher level view, you might be interested to change the highway authority. So for example, in this case, because we're only in Warwickshire, we already know that data's there. But if you're working on a national scale and you wanted to see a particular area, you could use that filter. We might be interested in the road types. So perhaps in this instance, we want to look at single carriageway. We can toggle that filter on. And again, that will just adjust the data. And in terms of other things, perhaps we're interested where the light conditions, we want to do all of those, so we can leave that on. In terms of the road user casualties themselves, perhaps we're only interested in pedestrian casualties. So we can toggle that on further, so that filters down the data to just a few now. And we might be interested where there was a car involved at the same time. And that filters it further. And you'll see here at the bottom of the screen, it actually shows us the 4 records that are the ones that we have selected. So you can scroll through these and look at the particular attribute information in relation to each one, and understand what the conditions were on the day, etc. And at the top of the side screen here, we also have the casualties and the vehicles that link to those individual crashes. And in addition to that, the reporting. So at the minute, if you wanted to produce a report, you would click the Produce Report button, and it would create a PDF that looks something like this, with all of the information relating to that particular collision listed off. So at the top of the screen, you would have the collision, and then at the bottom, you'd have a table for the vehicles and then the casualties. A development point for this is to actually move that reporting system perhaps directly into this web experience itself. And we were thinking that it might look something like this in the future. So this is built in Esri's report builder, and we're hoping to integrate this directly into the web experience. So for example, this is just for the collision data at the minute, but you can see on the left of the screen, we have the actual attribute information in relation to a particular collision. And then we have a dynamic map on the right of the screen that you could actually interrogate those records. As I said, it's a continued development point for us. So we need to work out how to actually integrate the vehicles and the casualty data into that. But this is sort of the direction that we're looking to head in relation to this. And then last of all, just going back to the data warehouse, we have the option to click into here and add additional data. So if you've purchased our speed compliance tool, we could use Leicestershire as an example of this. We actually have an option to add this to the map. If I can get it to work. Press done. Add to map. And then if we zoom out, this also gives us the layering opportunity to look at the collision data, but also how it works in conjunction with speed data. And perhaps it might give an opportunity to understand how the speeds are working, or how the speed data is perhaps having an influence on the collision data, and so on and so forth at the local level. So yeah, a really powerful tool to add on additional data. It doesn't necessarily have to be the speed compliance tool. It could be something else. It could be a bespoke data set that you want to add in some additional information. So yeah, that sort of brings us to the conclusion of the demonstration. if anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free to do so. Otherwise, I'll hand back to Steve. Alan.
So just a query. You showed the lasso where you could capture data over an area. Is there some way that the lasso itself can be saved so that we can repeat that analysis? We're often asked to do monitoring of the effect that schemes have. So we'd want to be able to repeat the same capture, as it were, over a time period.
Off the top of my head, in the way that this is developed at the minute, no, I don't think we have capability to do that, but it could be possible to add in functionality where you may have a predefined polygon that could be used as the study area, and then it could select the data based on that. That could definitely be some functionality that we can look at if it would be useful.
I think that would be useful to us. We're often asked to monitor schemes for a period of years after they've been completed, and being able to go back and revisit the same shape on occasions would be beneficial.
No, definitely, yeah. No, that's really helpful feedback. Thank you. Fatin.
Thank you. I just want to ask you if there is like any chance to also provide like collagen diagrams for like the collagens, because sometimes it can be like it takes like a while until you analyze like the direction of the collagen or how the collagen happened, like because I know that stats 19 description is not sometimes like very detailed. So I believe like maybe if we can like add like small diagram to say like, for example, the car coming from northeast collides with the car B from the other side and so on. So is that something that you maybe think about in the future?
Yes, potentially. That's not something that's been sort of on our radar up to now, as far as I'm aware, but it would be something that we would be interested to look at. So yeah, happy to add that to the list and see if it's something that would work.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to check, one of the things that I also noticed, it's not like a major thing, but it's like the color of the fatal collagen. It's exactly the same of the dots when you search for a location.
Is it? Okay.
So when you, for example, say Slough, so you'll find a dot to identify Slough. It's usually black dot.
So it's difficult to discern between the two.
So yeah, it can be sometimes give you indication that there was like a fatal collagen here, but it's basically just the dot where you identify the name of the area.
Right, I see. Okay, yeah, we could just change the coloring slightly.
Yeah. Okay, this is like one thing. And also my third question is that, is there also any chance to customize like our e-scooter collagen data? We receive like, we have Voi as our e-scooter provider in Slough, and we receive like a monthly collagen reports about, these collagens. Is there any chance to integrate these data with the CrashMap?
Yeah, it could be something that we look at sort of adding as a bespoke version of this. And we do have our CrashMap local, which gives people the opportunity to upload their own data sort of along those lines. So yeah, that could be a way of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Are we good on the question? I'll hand back to you, Steve.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emerson. Okay, there were 2 points that I did want to pick up after that were, well, actually, first of all, with the add your own data point in, Heather, I'm pretty sure you are, as it is, able to add in the data in the beta version, because West Berkshire has both CrashMap and Speed Compliance Tool, so they've already paid for the data. So I am pretty sure that it should be already available to you. So if you go to that data warehouse, click Add Data, it should just come up on your list, and you can overlay the speed data with the collision data. Now it will not give you as much information as you get in the speed compliance tool as well. So it would just give you an indication of what the actual speeds are in relation to the collisions. But you should have access to that as it is at the moment. The point that I did want to pick up first of all is on that report builder. Now, is there anything that is either not in the reports at the moment that you would want to see in the new report, or is there anything that that is not relevant, that you just don't use in the current report? So what would you really absolutely have to keep? What would you actually like to get rid of just in the reports? Does anybody have any feedback on that? If not now, there is plenty of opportunity to give it feedback at any point. Heather, please.
I'm 9 times out of 10, all I look for is the causation factors. That's what I go straight to.
Okay. Because West Berkshire has a local version.
Do we?
I'm trying to remember on the fly. When you say causation, not the contributory factors.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, Richard, go on. You're going to know more about this than me, please.
Yes, it used to be called contributory factors. Used to be called causation factors. Changed to contributory factors in 2005, I think. Now called road safety factors. I have for a very long time asked the DFT whether they would consider publishing these CFs, because I know that there are some police forces that will release them upon request. Transport for London have previously published them en masse. The advice that DFT are currently working on is that this is considered personal data. So they are not proactively publishing it. It's something we continually ask them about, and I do wonder whether the switch to road safety factors may be an opportunity for us to ask this question of them again. That's definitely something we can do. We've got really great contacts with the stats team in DFT. As many of you are probably aware, DFT don't hold the accident description text, as it's referred to. That's something that's only held by individual police forces and local authorities. Again, sometimes that isn't released because it could contain personal data. If a police officer, Rob might remember this from back in the day, wrote something slightly controversial or flowery about the collision, that may need to be redacted before it's released. So that is one of the problems there. I mean, our own experience through CrashMap Pro users, such as West Berkshire, etc., is that actually the collision description text now being recorded by police officers is incredibly dull. It is more or less just describing the dynamics of the collision rather than anything reasonably informative. And it's the kind of stuff that you might be able to replicate with data. So motorcycle 1 traveling northbound collided with car 2 overtaking on a bend, that kind of stuff. You can get all of that stuff out of the descriptions. So yeah, and that kind of aligns with some of those collision diagrams that I put in the text as well. But that's always an area that we're looking to innovate on and support our clients. So any suggestions or asks, we can definitely have a look into that.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you. Fatin.
Yeah, sorry, I have many questions about
please.
this today. Yeah, actually, like my first question, or like my suggestion, let's say, like for the contributing factors, they are always like highlighted as the number of the contributing factor, like 103, 201, and so on. is there any chance to put that in words? Because every time I need like to look, for example, like collisions resulted out of speeding. Yeah, so I need to go to look to the contributing factors to check if there is like anything related to code 306, which is exceeding speed limits. Is there any chance to put that instead of the number of the causation factor into a word?
Yes, I've made a note of that one. The other thing to mention as well is that those that do have these, with the move to road safety factors, there is another conversation that's going on within the industry. Everything's going to need to be mapped. So things that were formerly known as contributory factors, there's not necessarily, it's not a like for like. So you might have 3 contributory factors that are now 1 road safety factor. So we need to historically map some of the old ones so that you can, if you're comparing year on year, you can compare apples with apples. So yes, I will add that to the note because that is something that we will need to do anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. My other point, sorry, sorry, I forget about that. Yeah, with the updated stats 19, stats 920 now. You know that now the stats 19 is updated, like the form. We have a new form for stats 19.
Richard, I'm going to look to you at this one.
Okay.
Yes, we're reflecting the changes. One of the things that we've been doing is trying to wrangle the new forms, the new DFT format, in with the old format. The way that it used to work is the DFT working group used to create a new version of Stats 19 every 5 years as a part of a quinquennial review. We didn't have the results of that for about 17 or 18 years. We stuck with the same one for a long time. But there is a new form, and what my colleague Bruce has been doing is finding ways of mapping them back onto that. The problem that we've got is that despite intentions, instructions, not everybody's switched over to the new format, which is causing a lot of people all over the place a headache when trying to analyze data between individual police force areas effectively. But we're all over that, and we're absolutely going to make sure that that features in future versions.
Yeah, I think it's like a transitional time, at the moment. So like even with Stat 19, we don't, as a local authorities, we don't receive the reporting unless 6 months, have passed, from the collisions date. So it's anyway still not on the updated form so far. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, and thank you, Richard, for that one. Okay, right. Before I go on, Alice, I did see that you popped up. Did you have something that you wanted to add about the report builder in particular, or anything?
No, it was when you were asking and no one was responding. I was just going to say that we probably all use it for different reasons. So there might be elements that I find very useful, but or not useful, and others that do. So in terms of the data that we use, it's typically the type, the date, the vehicles that were involved, and then we take that data and write our own summary, because as was kind of discussed earlier, we don't want to apportion blame to anyone for if anyone does read the report. So we make it very kind of factually based. So the more information that's there, the better, because then we can take that to create our summary.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So do you still include the report itself, or do you just include the summary? Do you include the PDF? Is what I mean, or do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
we in the body of our report we have our own text, but then we've got the summary report of all of the collisions that are included in our appendices.
Got it. Understood. Okay. No, thank you for that. That's really useful. I don't often get to hear how people in the private sector, especially, use this sort of thing. In which case, Andrew, I'm just going to bring you in and ask you the same question. Do you do the same thing? Do you include the report itself or do you also take out the data and provide your own summaries?
Yes, we do a very similar thing. We have a section in our report where we may have tabulated results. We quite often use the Excel report and then use that with pivot tables to get tables for severity of the accidents within specific years and put that into our report. We'd have text-based descriptive on accidents, depending on obviously how many accidents we're looking at in any given case. So we would use the data within CrashMap Pro to interpret what might have happened with an accident, just to look for any patterns or any clusters of accidents that may cause concern, or obviously generally to demonstrate that there's no distinct pattern between the accidents within an area that we're studying. So yeah, we would then generally just use the summary report output just as an appendix, just for completeness, really. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, on the points about the diagram, that can be helpful. Sometimes the information within the data report is clear as to what happened. Sometimes it can be a little bit unclear depending on the nature of the directions. Sometimes don't make sense when you're trying to actually interpret what actually happened on the accident. So diagrams would be useful, and obviously the causation, I don't think have access to causation factors in the data we get out of it, but I appreciate there are obviously reasons why that's not available. But back in the days when you used to get it direct from the councils, you obviously got those textual things which added context to some of the accidents you were looking at.
Yeah, no, understood. Thank you. That is incredibly useful. As Richard said, with this move over to the road safety factors term, we can certainly have that conversation again with the department to see whether we could include it in CrashMap 2. We haven't been able to. It's only been available to people who have the data, who hold their own local data, not which is public sector, not available to us to share more widely. But understood, it would be very useful. Thank you for that. Okay, right, for the last few minutes, I'm going to move us on to the data discussion. So there are a couple of points that I do want to talk about here. One, I'm going to mention safety performance indicators, just to keep that one in the back of people's minds. But other data that we have available, or data that you might like to see in CrashMap itself, useful in sort of that mapping term. Speed data is one that we've covered already. We've got lots of different flavors of speed data. The others also that I can roll off the top of my head are vehicle flow data, congestion, road friction data. What sorts of things might people want to see mapped along with collisions? I'm going to open this up to anybody. Any ideas?
Well, another source of getting some of those sets of information is always welcome. I mean, well, obviously we would tend to get flow and speed surveys done when we're doing a planning application, so we would have that data, but we do use historic data from the DFT data sets or from local authority if they've got historic data sets. So any additional access to flow data, speed data is always useful.
Okay, great, noted. Fatin, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's almost the same. Yeah, definitely speed data, traffic counts, cycling counts. This is like also very important for our active travel schemes at the moment, because like many of the councils are like have grants from Active Travel England to develop active travel schemes. Like most of our budget now come from and our grants are about that, so it would be really useful to see these data in addition to the collagen records, just to provide like better understanding and also support our decisions, our reporting also to our senior management, to or residents, to justify like some of the schemes. So it's really useful, like maybe speeding compliance also. I know that Agilysis also provide this information. It's really something very useful, and just to check, and also in like our daily like basis, like complaints that we received from the residents about like road safety issues. It can support our decisions, so we can, for example, send them a report, or just to let them see by their own eyes, that this location is risky or not risky, or if we can, it's not like a priority at the moment, or not yet. So yeah, we have also like in Slough, and I believe like in other local authorities, a software called Spectrum, where you have all like GIS layers, like for example, the borough boundaries, lighting columns, all these like type of utilities and services like within the council. So if there is like ability to integrate with that system, that would be also great. So you can find the road collision in one of these layers, for example. So something to think about, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes, APIs is something that is certainly on our mind, whether it's in or out, something for us to consider about where we can have our data live. Anybody else for any other types of data? We do have a poll that I'm going to launch in just a second of sort of thinking about, but if there's any others that we wanted to add into that. No. Okay. In which case, Meg, could you please launch the poll as is? It's the one that's just popped up in the chat. Thank you. You've added in. If you could just sort of rank in terms of, so just drag being the most important, bottom being the least important. Now, we could throw the kitchen sink into CrashMap Pro if we wanted to. It could become a behemoth of a tool, and it would be very different from what it is at the moment, and cost 10 times the price. So we do need to be mindful about the things that we do consider, which is why I'm thinking about more priorities. Obviously, these things live in tools outside of CrashMap. We have access to all of these things in certain forms, but we're really thinking about, as I said earlier, thinking about this ecosystem, how everything fits together, and how people might access it to make it as easy as possible. Fatin, sorry, I missed your hand there.
No, that's fine. Like one thing to add is that we have also like our supplier for e-scooters, and they are also providing like sort of like virtual parking spots for our e-scooters. So maybe also something to think about, just to check if these like collisions happened at near these locations, or if there are, it will help us to provide like some like sort of analysis of these e-scooter collisions, where they are. And so yeah, maybe something like that, where these like parking locations are set out, would be useful.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. I'll make sure that we have that one in the list. The other one that I forgot off the top of my head as well is fixed enforcement infrastructure, speed cameras. So we do currently map that on for West Berkshire. In the speed compliance tool, we have the points of where the speed cameras are, but speed cameras and collisions, because they are they are safety cameras, they're not for anything else. They are safety cameras. The aim is to reduce casualties. So having something like that might be of interest as well. Right, lovely stuff. Thank you. I'm going to leave this poll open. I'm hoping everybody will have access to the chat at the end of the meeting. For the last 5 minutes, I just want to open up the floor to anybody else. Any feedback, any questions, any input that you'd like to give. This is not a one-time only thing. We're always available if you want to give us a ring or drop us an email for any feedback about CrashMap. Oh, okay, right. Well, let's call it there then. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. Really good to see you. Excellent to hear from you as well. As I said, please feel free to get in touch at any time, and we will be in touch as well to give you updates about how we're progressing with CrashMap. Right, yes. I've just seen your message. It's because you've got a special version, because you've got your local version with the local data. You're absolutely right. You don't have the beta yet on your dashboard. Let me get in touch with you separately after this call, and we'll make sure that you can get access to it to have a go. The only thing I will say is I don't think it will include that local data part yet. So it'll be the beta version of the national version that everybody else has access to, but I will double check that and come back to you.
Yeah, that's
I
fine,
also don't have access, so if you could get in contact with me as well. I've put my email address in the chat.
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, okay, that surprises me. I'll have a look into that. Yeah, we'll be in touch later on today to give you both an update.
Perfect, thank you.
All right,
Wonderful,
thanks everybody. Appreciate seeing you, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.